Good morning and welcome to our second day here at Six Flags over Georgia. If you didn't watch our first vlog, definitely go check that out. It's gonna have a lot more first impressions of the park and some general ride first impressions. Does not mean we're not getting on some of our first times today, but we don't have a super long time in the park today. We have to get going to get back home, but we will get in all the rides that we've yet to do and just get some re-rides in on our favorites that we had yesterday. So as of right now, crowds are definitely less than yesterday. We anticipated that, crowd calendars anticipated that. It did get a little busier yesterday towards the afternoon, but as soon as we got there, as soon as we got there yesterday, it wasn't too bad, but in the afternoon, it got a little busier. Obviously, Fright Fest is all getting set up right now. Unfortunately, we won't be able to experience this Fright Fest this year, maybe one time in the future, but we do have other plans for Halloween adventures later this year, so stay tuned. Obviously, Horror Nights is also coming up just a weekend away. As you're watching this, it's probably the next day that Horror Nights will be starting. So in terms of things that we haven't ridden that we do want to ride, there is Daredevil. That is a coaster that we didn't get. We didn't get the newest coaster that just opened this summer, Gold Rusher. I called it Gold Rush a lot yesterday. I apologize for that. It is Gold Rusher, not Gold Rush. I do feel like Gold Rush sounds better, but Gold Rusher is its actual name. Obviously, I do want to get one last ride though on Goliath as we're leaving today. I'll probably wait until close to the end of the day, but I do want to get a front row ride because at the moment, this was my favorite ride in the park. So unfortunately, at this point in the day, both the Log Flume and the River Ride are still down. We were really hoping to get at least one of them in. We like water rides a decent amount, especially Log Flume. So it was open right as we got here yesterday, broke down and has yet to reopen today. So it does kind of suck. Once again, I'm not riding that. I don't like stand-ups. They are the bane of my existence. And as we're walking up to Daredevil, I thought I'd quickly mention some of the stuff they're doing for Fright Fest. I just think it's interesting. So in the past, I think it was just last year, Six Flags decided to start doing a lot of more IP heavy stuff, kind of more similar to Horror Nights, having some originals, having some IP stuff. Over here on the left side of Daredevil, they do have Saw. You can see the spiral right on the doorway there. And then The Conjuring is over there next to Goliath. We showed you that yesterday. But I just thought it was interesting. Again, if you're local or in the area, remember the Fright Fest does happen. I think it's most weekends during Halloween. I'm not actually sure on exact dates, but I believe it's most weekends. So over here is our first new coaster of the day that we're going to be getting on. It is Daredevil. This is the dive coaster here. Impeccably quiet. That was Goliath, don't worry, that wasn't Daredevil. But we're going to be getting on this, getting our first ride of the day. Well, honestly, a real first shock of the trip for us here on Daredevil. I'm not usually the biggest fan of vertical lifts. I can enjoy them. I really like Mystery Mine at Dollywood, but I in general just don't like them because I feel like all the blood rushes to my head. But the actual overall elements of this ride were incredible. I didn't think it was the most exciting ride I've ever ridden, but probably the biggest shock is that you can hear it. As in, you can't hear it. It is by far the quietest ride in this park. It is smooth too, almost butter throughout some of the sections. There is a little bit of a shake on a couple of them, but for the most part, it is really smooth. And I was not expecting such a smooth and quiet ride experience. And the lift hill and the drop, drops a little bit beyond vertical too, right above me here. Ooh, right there. And again, I thought it was overall a great ride. It's not one that I would be like running to go re-ride or anything, but it's definitely not a bad ride. And if you're a pretty big thrill seeker too, I think it's fairly intense, but it's also not intense enough that like you wouldn't want to ride it if you weren't a big thrill seeker. One thing I did want to mention, when we were riding, I'm not that big of a dude. If you know me, I'm not huge, but I am on a bigger side, like a bigger built side. I just want to warn you, they did have to push down my restraint again. I don't know if I was in a funky seat or not, because my dad's restraint wasn't as tight as mine, but I just thought I would mention that. That's kind of the case for a lot of the rides we've noticed here. The seats are pretty tight, so if you're a big coaster enthusiast, but you're on the bigger side, just watch out. It does have some fairly tight restraints and seats. So we are heading back towards Gold Rusher. I'm not going to call it Gold Rush, hopefully, today. That, again, is their newest coaster for this year, their 2025. It is a surf coaster, and it will be my first ever surf coaster, so it is exciting. One thing I did want to mention about Fright Fest, and I could be wrong about this, but I would love to see some updated props. The props that are laid out over here and stuff seem kind of like they've been used for very long. Like a lot of the theming and stuff feels like it's been here for a long time. And that very much might be the case, but I was just making a point. I just think it's a little, you know, I want some new props how long they've probably been here. Yeah, unfortunately at this point in the day, it is almost 1 o'clock. We have very little hope on Thunder River opening. It is not filled with any water, and I'll show you a clip right now further down the walkway. It looks very stagnant water too. It's like not been running quite some time. So if you've known if it's not running for quite some time, we thought both the water rides would be open. It's hot out today. It's like 86. It's still August. We thought everything would be open and operational, but it is unfortunate to see. And then right down here, it's kind of in between the kids areas and heading back towards the back of the park with like Superman and stuff. It is the Georgia Gold Rusher. This is the world's first actually intimate ultra surf coaster. Oh, so we're gonna go in, give it a ride. So hopefully I could find some clips of it yesterday, because I think I took some clips of it yesterday, but we were on Georgia Gold Rusher. We got to ride. Overall thoughts on the ride, I thought it was good. I'm not a big surf coaster person, but the spinning isn't too bad. I don't normally like when it rides free spin and have too much spinning going on. Obviously there's some exception to that. I love Time Traveler a ton, but that still doesn't spin you like a ton. This is similar to Time Traveler, on my opinion, where it doesn't overspin you, but you can get some fun moments with the spins. Water effects weren't necessarily like necessary, but they were fun, and you got some insane airtime on that little bunny hill. Overall, again, I thought it was a pretty fun ride, but the reason I can't get any off-ride footage, actually, as we pulled in the station, it broke. It didn't align properly with the track, or like the lift part to get off the ride, but they did manage to get us off pretty quickly. We were only sitting there for about 10 minutes, but it is now not operational, so good thing we got on it. We were literally on the broken train, so it doesn't always work in our favor, but I'm glad it did this time. Oh, it's running right now. So I am filming this part of the video a little bit after we did ride, so it's been about an hour since it's been down, but it does look like they are now back up and testing. Again, what was wrong with it is it did pull into the station, didn't align with the station. So when the parts came up, they weren't fully aligned, and that can be dangerous because when letting people off, it could be, you know, too close to the edge and stuff. So I do understand it. Obviously things happen, unfortunately, but luckily we did get on it. We were literally on the broken train. Luckily, it's not too busy today. Again, it is pretty dead out. I would say a little slower right now than yesterday, but not by a ton. And hopefully they can get it up and running here soon. So one interesting thing that I thought I'd mention as we're walking past, they actually do have Gold Rusher, like Georgia Gold Rusher, Dippin' Dot flavor. That's interesting. I didn't know Dippin' Dot did that as much anymore, where they did like special flavors for a ride. I've seen it in the past. I would assume it's at all their stands. That one specifically is over here in Metropolis, right off to the right side in the Stax booth. And then probably the biggest mistake today, I'm gonna hop back on the Great American Scream Machine. If you didn't hear me yesterday, this thing is a soul shaker. It will rattle you to your core. But I thought I'd give it a ride on the back row just to see. I rode on the front yesterday. So we'll just see what happens. Again, I love Woodens, so this is kind of like one of the must do a second time for me, even though it is so shaky. Well, as ever so slightly predicted, that was a bad idea. I love this ride though. It's so historic. It's so old. It's so crazy. It's over 50 years old. This thing is hilarious how old it is. Clearly does need some retracking work. I would also love to see some new trains possibly go on here too. But back, I wouldn't say it was more rattly, but it definitely had a more sustained rattle than the front. The front was more aggressive, where the back was more like a sustained rattle throughout the elements and stuff. If you don't mind getting shaken around and kind of destroyed all about, this is a great ride, but otherwise I would definitely avoid this if you don't like shaky rides. One thing I would really, again, biggest thing I need from this park is some TLC. This whole park needs some substantial TLC. One thing that I wanted to mention was the bathrooms. Bathrooms around this park are very old and definitely have the smell of being very old. They definitely need to work on refurbishing some of the bathrooms around the parks. Obviously, we've even seen Universal doing that currently at Studios and Islands. Even Disney has been refurbishing bathrooms all around. And I would like to see this park do the same thing. And some of the bathrooms just feel so prehistoric. Obviously, this park just needs some love and attention with paint jobs, repaving some of the cracked walkways and splintered walkways, and some bathroom makeover. If they can do that in a year or two, I really think that will help this park feel a little bit more lively. But as we're over here, we thought we'd hop on for just a ride on Battle for Metropolis. Well, we got 2 rides there because there was nobody in line, so we hopped right back into line. My opinion stays the same as yesterday. I think the foundation of this ride is actually really great. I think the ride vehicles are very much similar to the Scoot vehicles. They have a decent amount of motion to them. I actually think the shooting system works very well, but they need some help with the screens and the animation. Screens need to be brighter, they need new projectors, they need higher quality. They need to update animation and mocap. It is very old and dated looking. I feel like even when this started, it could have been better than it was. And just some general work overall with the ride. But again, wasn't bad in total. I just thought it needs a little help. If it can get that overhaul with animation, lighting, and some music, that's my biggest thing with that ride. Where's the music? There's no music in some of these scenes, and it is slightly awkward. I do want to brag a little bit. I love shooting dark rides. That's why we got back on it. I did get top 1%. I barely didn't scratch out 200,000 points. I don't know how good that is, but it did say I was top 1% out of riders for this ride. I don't know what that metric is on, if it's by monthly, by yearly, or overall. But I like to think 200,000 basically was quite good. So, again, love shooting dark rides. I would love to just see this one get a little bit of work, and I think it would really help out this ride in particular. Yeah, it's really a shame about Thunder River. I would like a little bit more transparency with them telling things are closed. They didn't have this sign out until maybe an hour ago, and it's already past 1 o'clock. So they already was supposed to be operating, and then they brought out the sign and told everyone it was going to be operating. Clearly, we weren't the only ones today that thought it was going to be operating, because when we came down here around like 11:40, there was people waiting down here to get in. So again, I would like a little bit more transparency of why it's even closed, other than just it's closed. Is it closed for some particular reason, maintenance problems, or are they just closing it because they don't want to open it and operate it? Anything's possible with Six Flags, but I really hope that it isn't just because they don't want to operate it today. I will say, we were talking earlier about how this whole area actually feels kind of Silver Dollar, Dollywood-esque. If they would put a little more paint into it and a little bit more theming, I think this area would be really pretty. Again, I still think this area of the park could use some serious work, as in new attractions. I feel like you get down here towards the back, there really isn't much. We talked about with the one of the newer rides, Pandemonium, right over here, how much work they could do to put more stuff back there. They could easily put a new family coaster back there and a new restaurant and stuff like that. It's the train. I love this train here though. It's been operating since park open. I really like the look of it. It looks kind of old steampunky. And it takes you to 2 different stations on either side of the park, so I think it works well as transportation. But I just think they could do so much work back there, make it work well. It does seem like Gold Rusher is now returned to operation, I believe. Yes, it looks like it's returned to operation. Okay, well that's good. It wasn't down for too long, only a little over an hour, so that's good to see them grab it back up. So we are gonna get our last ride here on the Monster Mansion. Before we head out, I am gonna go ride Goliath one more time, but this is one of the few that we can actually bring you on. So I'll show the POV that I took yesterday, but we're gonna go give it one last ride.
Hey y'all, it's time to make your best monster face, so smile for the party. 1, 2, 3. Your hostess, Missy Scarlet. Y'all have a good time at Disney now.
Yo, Marshal Billy Bob Fritter here saying, as you travel and flow, keep your hands on the boat. I sure like a party. No, you dang fools! This way! Stay out of the marsh! Stay out of the marsh! Oh no! Ready? Flippin' light that fuse! Ready, aim, and fire! Oh yeah! Looking for you guys, I found this here cannon.
I'm glad to see you. I thought for sure y'all were goners. Everyone counted for
So we really love this ride. That's why we made sure we got 3 rides on it while we were here. It is a fascinating experience. It is weird. It is really wacky. And I'm so glad that Six Flags has decided to keep it and keep everything functional. Everything, to my knowledge, is functional in there. And it's really nice to see that. I do have a theory, though, with this ride. And I could be completely wrong, or I could be completely right, and it's well-known knowledge. But it definitely, the monsters in the mansion are the bad guys. Like, there's multiple parts where you can see, like, them have a thing that's just, like, hit the humans and stuff like that. But then when you get inside the marsh, none of the monsters actually like attack you. And one of the smaller ones does say, "Go back, but beware." So I think it's purposely, and then obviously at the ending you get eaten by a big monster. So I think it's definitely, they're inviting you in to get you eaten. You go off to the marsh and they were actually trying to help you. But could be wrong, but I would love to hear what you think. Again, I'm gonna go get one more ride on Goliath. And then I'll give you my final thoughts on that. We'll show you some off-ride footage, and then that will about wrap up our day right after we get a little snack before we leave. Alrighty, I'm gonna be heading back on Goliath again. I didn't get to ride a front row ride, so I wanted to get one in right before we end up leaving. This will be my last ride of the day, though. Man, I really love Goliath. You can actually, again, hear it going up the lift hill there. Got a front row seat. You get a lot of wind on that front row. It's a fairly intense hyper. Has a lot of G-force, especially on that curve at the end. I really like it. I want to emphasize that. I do think it's worse than Mako, though. I think Mako is way smoother. I think it overall has better elements, and it is longer. But I still love Goliath here. I think it's a super fun ride. Definitely the must-do ride here at Six Flags Over Georgia, at least for me, that with Monster Mansion. Well, we didn't talk too much about merch or food on this trip. We are heading out, but I thought we would quickly look at the Six Flags Universe store. This is their main store. One of their big things they've started not too long ago is capes, and you can get custom ones with your name on it if that's something you're into. Obviously, mainly for children, but do what you want. A lot of their merch is kind of eh. I don't really love this style of merch. I do think it's in, but it's not my thing. I think some of their merch is fine. Some of it's overpriced, but some of it's not too bad. And it is funny, they do have a lot of Fright Fest stuff already out, but we did see some of the old Fright Fest stuff. This is their normal daytime, like Halloween stuff for kids. Again, this park does both Fright Fest and they're like daytime scare, not like scare, but like Halloween event. And then they also do Oktoberfest at the same time. So there's a lot going on in this park during that October part of the season. Alrighty, so that wraps up our Six Flags Over Georgia trip. I know this video was much shorter. We didn't have as long today. We need to get going. Traffic's already getting bad. We're leaving around 2:30 today. But we had, honestly, a pretty great time. Obviously, one of the big problems with this park, unfortunately, is some problems they've had with guests in the past. They've had fights here and other incidents, especially during that Fright Fest season. So I don't want to highlight it, but it definitely is an issue that needs to be addressed. Obviously, they have been addressing it. I actually think the park felt very safe. They have a lot of security and police officers all around the park. So it's not as much of a worry anymore, but I'm glad they've addressed it. And I think they need to continue to address it. Obviously, one of their big problems was teen groups, and they've introduced a chaperone policy now. So definitely something to keep in mind there. Obviously, I don't think it's the end all be all of this park. We had a great time, pretty low capacity and like low wait times while we were here. I would say if you come during the busy season though, you can get some really big waits with some of the ops here. Not the worst ops I've ever seen, but definitely not the best. They definitely could be going a little quicker. And I would like to see maybe some work done on that too. But overall, again, great time. Staff was actually very friendly. We had great interactions with it and some very funny moments. And in general, everybody was very nice. We had a great time on most of the rides. Obviously, this has a lot of intense rides. So if you like intense coasters, intense rides, this is the park for you. But they've done a great job having a mix also for families and little kids to have a good time in this park with a lot of kids, flat rides, and all that good stuff. So definitely come here, check it out. My top recommendations are obviously Goliath. Check out Twisted Cyclone. Gold Rush was pretty fun. It's obviously the first Ultra Surf, so if you're interested in trying that for the first time, definitely check that out. And then obviously don't miss Monster Mansion. That's like the ride. So thanks for watching. I hope this video brought a little more joy into your day. Look forward for trips in the future. Obviously, Horror Nights is coming up, so if you're into that, watch my Horror Nights videos. Will be there opening night. So thanks for watching. I hope this video brought a little more joy into your day, and we'll see you guys next time.